All right, so today we're diving deep into ERC-4337 on the Ethereum network,
Right.
which is something that sounds kind of like a mouthful,
Yeah,
but actually has some really big implications for users like us.
it's a big one.
So ERC-4337,
So what ERC-4337 promises is
what is this all about?
it's this idea, right, that we can make Ethereum wallets
Yeah.
as easy to use as, like, the apps on our phone
Right.
without
Literally, there's your
compromising.
banking app.
Exactly. Yeah, without compromising security or decentralization, which are two of the big things.
Right, which are the things that we like about this technology.
Exactly.
Okay, so ease of use, we like that, but what's the secret sauce? What are we talking about here?
So the secret sauce is something called account abstraction.
Okay.
And,
Oh, okay.
we have these things called EOAs, Ethereum accounts. These are like the original wallets.
The OG wallets.
Yeah, like the OG wallets. And they're great.
Yeah.
They work, but they don't really handle the complexities of smart contracts very well.
And smart contracts are kind of a big deal
Yeah.
when it comes to Ethereum.
Smart contracts are everything, really, when you think about it.
Yeah.
Because they're how we get all these like really cool
Yeah.
applications and functionality on Ethereum.
Right. So this is where ERC-4337 comes in.
Exactly. Yeah, this is
And-
where ERC-43337 comes in and what it's trying to solve.
And what it's trying to do is make it so that your wallet can interact with those things more seamlessly.
Exactly.
So you're not having to like jump through a bunch of hoops every time you want to use a new dApp or something.
Exactly. It just works.
It just works. We love that.
It just works. That's the dream.
So what makes this different
Yeah.
than other attempts to kind of achieve this? Because I know
Yeah.
that this idea has been floating around for a while.
This has been a long time coming.
This is not a new idea.
Account abstraction has been like the holy grail for Ethereum for a while now. And what makes this one, I think, really special is that it avoids
Okay.
having to make these like really complicated changes to the
Hmm.
core of Ethereum,
Oh, interesting.
right? So it doesn't require like an Ethereum upgrade for this to happen.
Right.
So it's leveraging this higher layer infrastructure
Okay.
that sits on top of Ethereum
Got it.
to kind of achieve these same goals.
Interesting. Okay, so we're not reinventing the wheel here.
Yeah, right.
We're just building a better engine.
Exactly. We're just making it work better for everyone.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so how does it work?
How does it work?
Yeah, give me the rundown.
Okay, so basically,
What's happening behind the scenes here?
so we're not like completely rebuilding Ethereum here.
Okay.
We're adding on top.
Okay.
We're creating this sort of like new lane
Okay.
for these wallet operations to happen.
A dedicated lane.
A dedicated lane, exactly.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so at the heart of it
Lane.
are these things called user operations.
Ooh.
And so imagine you have your smart contract wallet, right?
Right.
You want to do something,
Right.
you want to send tokens, maybe you want to interact with a dApp, you want to like set up some recurring payments or something like that.
Sure.
You create a user operation.
Okay.
And that user operation basically says like, hey, wallet, do this thing.
Oh, it's like an instruction manual.
Exactly. It's like an instruction.
You're
Exactly.
like, hey, wallet, go do this thing.
Yeah, exactly. And so normally...
Wait, instead of me doing it manually?
Exactly.
Interesting.
But instead of that transaction, that user operation going directly to the Ethereum blockchain,
Right.
it goes to a separate mempool.
Hold on, a separate mempool.
A separate mempool.
Now we're getting complicated.
It's a little bit more complex, but bear with me.
Because I thought there was one mempool
Right. So there's the main mempool.
where like all the transactions are hanging out.
This is like the VIP mempool.
Okay.
This is like for user operations only,
Okay, got it.
right? And this is where things start to get bundled up.
Okay, so this is where the bundlers come in.
This is where the bundlers come in,
Okay.
right? So these bundlers,
They're like the bouncers at the VIP club.
exactly. They see all these user operations hanging out,
Right.
and they're like, all right, let's group these up.
Let's get you guys in.
Exactly. Let's make this efficient,
Interesting.
right? And so they take these user operations, they package them together into nice little bundles,
Okay.
and then they submit those to the Ethereum network.
So instead of me sending my one little user operation,
Yep.
it's getting packaged
It's getting grouped up.
with a bunch of other people
Yeah,
sent along.
It's more efficient that way.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and to make sure that these bundles actually get processed correctly, there's this special contract on Ethereum called the entry point contract.
The entry point contract.
Yeah.
Okay, what is this thing?
So think of it as like the central hub
Okay.
for all of these bundled user operations.
Okay, so it's like the drop-off point for all these bundles.
Exactly. So the bundlers, they take all these bundles, they bring them to the entry point contract, and the entry point contract is like, all right, let me handle this.
Okay.
let me execute all these instructions on Ethereum.
Got it.
So it's like it's like the
The
intermediary.
middleman.
Exactly, the middleman.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got our user operations going to the VIP mempool.
Right.
The bundlers are packaging them up, taking them to the entry point contract, and then it's all getting like executed.
Exactly. That's the gist of it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like a very elegant solution.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, to a complex problem.
Yeah, and it actually, it addresses a lot of the sort of shortcomings of the previous attempts to do this kind of stuff.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got these user operations going to their little VIP lounge, getting bundled up, sent off to the entry point contract. But what about security?
Right.
It seems like with adding all these extra layers,
Yeah.
there might be more attack vectors, there might be new vulnerabilities.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean,
How do we know this is secure?
when you're talking about people's funds and assets,
Right.
security is like the #1 priority. And ERC-4337, I think, does a really good job of addressing that and thinking about
Okay.
the different ways that the system could be attacked.
Yeah.
So like one example is, something called a denial of service attack.
Right, where you try to like clog up the system
Exactly. You try to like
so no one can use it.
flood the network with a ton of transactions,
Right.
clog it up, prevent legitimate users from getting their transactions through. And so
So how do you prevent that?
one of the ways that ERC-4337 tackles this is by ensuring that every single user operation has a cost associated with it.
Okay.
Right. So even though, you might be able to pay for that
Right.
transaction in a different token or whatever,
Right. You gotta pay to play.
there's still a fee associated with it. And so
Right.
that makes it much harder for an attacker.
Right, because they can't just spam the network.
Exactly. They can't just spam a bunch of
Right.
transactions and clog everything up.
Right. They have to pay for every single one.
Exactly. So that's one really clever way
Interesting.
that ERC-4337.
So that's like a built-in like
Yeah.
spam filter, essentially.
They're a spam filter, exactly.
Interesting.
And it goes beyond that. There's also this concept of a reputation system for bundlers.
Okay, so it's not just about like getting those bundles through. It's about doing it well and doing it reliably and consistently and all of that.
Exactly. So think of it like a credit score.
Okay.
For bundlers, right?
Right.
If a bundler tries to sneak in some malicious
Interesting.
user operations, or if they're like acting erratically or something,
They get dinged.
they get a ding on their reputation.
Right?
And that might mean that they have a harder time including their bundles
Right.
in the future, or, they might get penalized in some way.
So it's like it keeps everybody honest.
Exactly. It incentivizes good behavior
Interesting.
so that we know
I like that.
that these bundlers who are handling these important transactions
Right.
are going to do it.
They're not going to try to game the system.
Exactly. They're not going to try to game the system. They're going to act in good faith.
Very cool.
Yeah. And, this is what I think makes ERC-4337 so groundbreaking.
Yeah.
It's not just like a technical upgrade. It's like a fundamental shift, right? It's really about like, okay, how do we make Ethereum work better for everybody? And how do we onboard the next billion users?
Yeah, make it more accessible.
Exactly.
So we've talked about easier onboarding, flexible fees. Now we have this like security and reputation layer.
Yeah.
It feels like we're really
It's pretty amazing.
onto something here.
Yeah, I mean, you put it all together.
Yeah.
And you really do have the potential for like a much more user-friendly, secure, accessible Ethereum experience.
Yeah, and that's exciting, right? Because
It is exciting.
the technology is amazing, but if it's too hard to use, no one's going to use it.
Exactly. And I think that's been the big hurdle for a lot of people. It's like, yeah, this stuff's cool, but like, I can't even like set up a wallet.
I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, exactly. So ERC-4337 is really trying to address that.
Very cool. Well, I'm excited to see where this all goes.
Me too. It's going to be interesting.
And I think that's about all the time we have for today.
Awesome.
But thank you so much for breaking this down for us.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Always a pleasure. And to our listeners, we hope you enjoyed this deep dive into ERC-4337. Until next time.